For us at Antorial Academy, so this conversation is being hosted by Antorial Academy, and it's a commitment that we continue to lend a voice in the education space. So for those of you that are just joining us for the very first time, our event for the very first time, our mission is simple. We are here to empower leaders tomorrow, today. Our leaders for tomorrow, we are empowering them today. So that is our commitment. So we're all striving for the same standards. That is why we are here. So if you're joining us, please use the chat box, introduce yourself, and tell us where you're joining us from. So this is why this conversation, tonight's conversation, is very, very crucial to us at Antorial Academy, because we have seen firsthand that the biggest challenge in the education space today is not just buying the right software or having the right equipment, but it is ensuring that whatever we have invested in translates into measurable student success, and is also ensuring that our policies are working. So we don't just make policies, but we ensure that these policies actually work. And we put in our policies in people. Policies are not documents, but policies are meant to be working people. So on the heart of tonight's conversation, we all know the reality. We all know the reality that the computer-based testing is here to stay. And sometimes managing them can actually feel, that we want to build a strong, long-lasting structure. So tonight we're moving beyond, let's quickly fix it, no, but we are focusing on strategically aligning and the sophisticated process of getting everything in your institution, from the principal's office to the IT department, to the classroom, to the teachers, and to the students. So we want to have this conversation, and we are ensuring that by the grace of God is going to be a flawless one. How to make our school a tech-driven leader, where technology is a silent and seamless enabler of learning, not a stressful barrier. So a lot of people think that technology is stressful, but we're here to let you know that it's an enabler and it's not meant to be stressful, okay? And we're going to talk, this is about real-world strategies to ensure your policies are predictable. And in the end, the result will be high student performance. Tonight, our guest is a very vast leader with over 4 decades in this space, and has established institutions that are technology driven. Mrs. Modupe Adeyinka Oni is the founder of Standard Bearer School and iAfrica Cloud School Foundation. She has dedicated her life, her time to understanding this precise, that how to build world-class school using technology and the foundation for academic success. She's going to share with us tonight the blueprint for moving your institution from just having the right policies to a flawless executing those policies, ultimately positioning your school as the benchmark for CBT excellence. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, kindly use the chat box. Tell us where you're joining us from. Tell us what you do, and let's get the conversation started. So please feel comfortable. This is a safe space. There is no right or wrong answer. Every conversation here is unique to us. It's for us to rub minds and to share strategic ideas on how we can get our students to understand and master the CBT, computer-based testing. So please get comfortable, no distractions. But of course, if you have anything to say, just use the icon, raise your hand, and you will be called. So let's get ready to learn how truly we can win this strategic conversation. Let's see how we can actually get it for every one of us on this call tonight to align that yes, the policies are there, but it can also ensure that there is success in academic success and performance. So yeah, it is my honor and pleasure to call on our distinguished guests, Mrs. Modupe Adeyinka Oni. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for choosing us, and thank you for aligning with us and our initiative. So you're welcome. The floor is yours now. Can we celebrate Mrs. Modupe Oni? Can you icon? Let's celebrate her. You're welcome. Let's give her some flowers. You're very welcome. Thank you very much. Someone has her hands raised. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So you're welcome. You're welcome. The floor is yours.
Wow. Thank you very, very much for this opportunity. Thank you to everyone who's on the call. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So good evening, distinguished school leaders, educators. If there are any government stakeholders, you're welcome. And of course, the CBT policy implementers, which is every one of us and everyone in the education space. The entire team at Antorial Academy for this opportunity to speak on a very, very important topic that we are all faced with at this time. As Antonia has said, my name is Modupe Adeyinka Oni. So now that we've gone through protocols, let's dive into it. Now, I want to say this at the very beginning. CBT is not the future. CBT is our past. The whole world has been using CBT for upwards of 15 years or more. So when WAEC now announces that we're going to have to use CBT for our exams, you know, we're coming in late. But the time you start is your morning. So it's our morning in Nigeria, and we have to try and get it right. So as we speak, thousands of Nigerians are currently sitting in examination halls, navigating computer screens, clicking the mouse, and managing dictatorial timers. So this is not a pilot program. Thank you for my slides coming up, Emmanuel. And we're not in an experimental phase. This is the reality. Please change my slides. Please change my slides. This is the reality. Keep going. Change my slides. Okay, let's stop here. I've made very pretty slides for you guys because, you know, at the end of it all, I want you to remember the substance of it, because I know it's in the evening. So if you want to take pictures of the slides, feel free. Antonia, you're right. Feel free to take pictures of slides. So let's consider the sobering statistics. Computer-based testing has been mandated for WAEC exams. The government is saying not next year, but the truth of the matter is that it doesn't really matter when we're starting. We're late. So we all have to dive into it. Now, if it comes into effect now, good. If it comes into effect in 2:30, we have more time.
Okay.
These are the examinations that are going to determine whether our children advance to tertiary education and can pursue their dreams and contribute meaningfully to our nation's development. So it really doesn't matter if we teach them well in our schools and they have to face CBT and they don't know how to use the technology, then all the teaching and learning that has taken place has failed. I'm sure you agree with that, right? If you agree with me, please just give me a thumbs up. So that really is the crux of the matter. We have children who are bright. I tell everybody Nigerian children are really smart. But when we look at Nigeria, let's not look at private schools alone. Let's remember that we have over 90,000 public schools, and less than 30% of them have functional ICT programs. So if we allow this to sink in, we're asking children to go into exams, to perform digitally, and only, most of these schools cannot adequately prepare themselves. So the question we are going to be asking ourselves is how? Let's change the slide. How is this going to happen? Yes, the policy has come and we have no choice, but the implementation gap is what is our problem now. How do we fill that gap? We have made a decision to adopt CBT, but we have to bridge policy and performance, and that's why we're here. Because the truth is that our students are paying the price. Our students are paying the price for this disconnection. And you wonder how they're paying the price, because it's not about their potential now that is being examined. It's how to use technology. And they don't know how to use technology. But whatever we do with them in our schools will be looked at in terms of outcomes by what the computer gives them. And we saw this in WAEC this year and JAMB results. Many of those children probably could have done their exams better, but if they were struggling with technology that they haven't even tried, then whose fault is it? It's not ours, it's not government, it's not the children's. It's just simply that the time has come for us to shift. The global world has shifted and Nigeria has to shift. So traditional paper testing was good. It served us well in our generations. However, the world is becoming increasingly digital and the limitations of the paper-based assessment has become evident. Now, sometimes papers are lost, papers are not marked. Human error is one of the biggest problems we're dealing with. But when you look at computer-based testing as it has emerged as a solution, it addresses all that. So if a child can sit in an exam and a week later, because it's all computer-based, can get their assessments, isn't it better than all this marking, which is dependent on the mood of the marker or the understanding of the marker, or I can't read this handwriting. All those things now come to play. The truth is, whose fault is it? It's not the child's fault. Neither is it the teacher's fault. Can we say it's the examiner's fault? So systemic lack of progress in the education space is what we're faced with. And so we are seeing a lot of failures in exams. The scoring is not accurate, but with CBT, it provides faster results. It provides fairer scoring, the standardized marking that eliminates human error, bias, and emotion. It generates stronger analytics. So at the end of the day, educators can see exactly which questions students are struggling with, identify where there are gaps at scale as a country, at scale in your class. So you can see every child and you can see through the data that CBT gives you what areas maybe you need to concentrate more on. You can teach better. They're not getting it. You can go back to your children and ask. I noticed from the data that a lot of you are struggling with economics. What is it about economics? How can we help you to get it better? But when you just sit for an exam and nobody can come and tell you what you did wrong, then it's difficult for them. They're discouraged, they're demoralized. But perhaps the most important is that CBT itself develops real-world digital skills. And at the end of the day, the World Economic Forum is telling us that it's all about skills. The children need to have skills. So it's skills above knowledge, not knowledge above skills. I tell people, you know, you can have the breadth of knowledge, but if you don't have simple technology, you will not go very far. So we as educators have to wake up to technology. And if you're one of those who are scared of technology, please, technology is your friend. It makes your life easier. So you have to embrace technology. So like I said, it helps develop real world skills. And when students engage with computer-based assessments, they are not just demonstrating knowledge, they are participating in things like digital literacy, how to navigate interface, how to manage time, how to build confidence in technology, because technology is the pen of the future. The children that leave us now are not going to use Biro to write anything. It's this same technology. So are the skills for the 21st century workplace. And having the exam is like an initiation into a lifelong learning that involves technology. Africa, we know, has been left behind with this whole technology thing. But let's look at Kenya. Thank you very much. Kenya has successfully implemented CBT in its national exams. Kenya, over there, brothers and sisters. So if they can do it, what we need to do is learn from them. And you know, the beautiful thing is that if you know how to use AI, you can actually go and ask AI. Kenya, Rwanda, South Africa, they have successfully used CBT and transitioned from paper-based to computer-based testing. Give us an analysis of what that is and what can I, as a teacher, learn from it. It will support, it will give you information. That's just on the side. Because this is not AI. Now, Nigeria faces unique challenges different from these countries because our population is a blessing, but when it comes to education, it is a challenge, right? But with our vast population, the diversity, and we suffer from profound infrastructure inequalities that translate directly into performance inequalities. And we know the easy one, north, south, Nigeria, you know, the schools are farther apart because you have bigger land mass, technology, and even data. There are many places that have not even received data for them to use their phones, how much more to use technology. But that's our reality. Technology adoption is dramatically uneven. And you can look at Zamfara, you can look at Kwara, you can look at Bayelsa, and then you look at Lagos and Abuja. They would say that Lagos and Abuja has an advantage. But do we? It simply has nothing to do with us as educators. It simply has to do with the people that are building the infrastructure, how they're making their decisions. They need to prioritize education and knowing that they have millions of children that need to take exams. They need to put the infrastructure for schools as a priority. So another reality is that in Nigeria, we have the tiered school system. We have the elite private schools. We have the mid or average private schools. And I've listed for you all what they have. So, you know, the elite schools have everything and they can transition to CBT faster. The private schools that are on the average side, some of them have the computer technology, but when you think of a class of maybe 100 students, none of them have 100 computer labs. Do you understand what I'm saying? So again, it becomes difficult. So the first tier of schools where most of Nigeria's youth and children are is in the low income schools. And of course, at the end of the day, when they talk about CBT, they're talking about everybody. So every struggle that you have on this call right now about CBT, amplify it 10 times and begin to think of what the low income schools have to face. And the reality is that they are more than all of us put together. These non-state schools have come in to serve a purpose. In Lagos, they started as what we call jealousy, but with time, the need to continue to nurture these children emerged into schools being set up. But these setups are in really low-income areas, underserved communities, and when we talk about CBT, how do we expect them to comply? They would love to, but many of these schools are free. Non-low-income schools, as we know it, are schools that are 50,000 naira or less. Okay, so how do we expect them to support the infrastructure they need in their schools to actually execute this? I'm fortunate to have gone into quite a number of non-state low-income schools, and the challenge is really big for them. So you talk about they need to supply electricity or solar, they need high-speed internet connectivity. Then they have to teach their children how to use the computer before they now start teaching them how to take the test. Because it's one thing to take, to know how to use technology. It's another thing to take a CBT test. The preparation is very different. So in non-incomes, in these low-income schools, we have this great challenge. And I'm sorry, just give me a minute. Something happened to my screen here. So I think we're on the same page now. Yeah, so they have to deal with generators. They have to deal with all these problems. But we thank God the private average schools are in the middle. And later when we get into conversations, I will start asking you where you are and how your current experiences are. Private average schools, they are the middle tier. They serve middle class. Again, the middle class is a greater number of children in private schools. And these ones, they don't have the financial capacity. They have the will, but the financial capacity. Unfortunately, there is no education bank that schools can go to right now and say they want to take a loan, buy computers, but I know that BOI is working on something that they might announce very soon that maybe will allow some of these schools to take advantage of a particular fund, which is for infrastructure in schools. And I would say that if you're a school owner on the call, you need to just make sure that your paperwork is together, because when this fund comes out, I know it's going to be it's not 0 digits, but it's units, single digits. All right. And then we've talked about our low-income schools, and for these children, the situation is devastating, the first exposure, and at the same time, can you imagine, it's your first exam, but it's the most important exam for you, which happened to a lot of children. It's not that they didn't have the knowledge, but struggling with the quick tutorial that they're given on how to navigate it failed them. That again is putting pressure. And in this generation, when we talk about mental health, you can't go into an exam strung up, anxious, and expect to do well. So I want to share learnings, what we have learned from what I've learned from recent findings and conversations. Many students do not know how to submit their answer. They know the answer, but how to click it, they don't know. This is not a minor technical issue. It's actually the catastrophe. Students who answered questions correctly lost marks because they could not navigate the submission process. Others struggled with basic mouse control and navigation. Can you imagine, in your most important exam, in a timed exam, you're trying to struggle with time versus technology, and then you want to put your best Yes, they can multitask, but this is multitasking under pressure, and that it doesn't augur well for an exam situation. So the failure has nothing to do with the knowledge. It has everything to do with that interface shock. When they come into that exam and they realize that truly I have to navigate this in my life depends on it. So I want you to truly understand this, because it's not that our children in Nigeria are unintelligent. They are not lazy students. They are young people with potential, and that potential is being wasted because we, the adults, have failed to prepare them adequately. We have changed the rules of the game without teaching them how to play. And in essence, we have created a barrier. So there was always a barrier, a bridge between the elite schools and the government schools and everybody else. But technology has come in and it's made that barrier even wider, because, as I often say to people, when technology becomes a barrier, assessment no longer means intelligence, it measures privilege. The child that is privileged, that has access, will pass. The child that is not privileged, that is not privy to using technology like it should, probably will not pass. But at the end of the day, if you put them together, you might find out that the one who did not pass is actually much smarter than the other child, but opportunity and access held this child back. So when we look at the psychology stress and the anxiety in this CBT transition, of course, there's, for us, the teachers, especially teachers who haven't fully embraced technology, there's psychological stress. And this stress affects teachers, students, parents, and is creating a culture of fear. Everybody's now anxious. This digital thing, how are we going to cope with it? So teachers have this deep fear of being exposed, that everybody will know that they don't know technology. Now, what I say is, many people, I know we all entered, and I use myself as an example because I think, by virtue of my age, we entered the teaching profession before computers became ubiquitous. They are experts in this subject matter, passionate about education, but they feel vulnerable about technology. Let me tell you something, teachers, don't be vulnerable. Because if you have technology and you have children that know technology, your children are happy to show you how to navigate it. So don't, because of technology, hold back. Ask them. One of the things that 21st century teaching has taught us, putting the children at the center, making sure that their voice counts. When it comes to CBT, ask the children, guys, this CBT thing, who can show me what they know about it first? You'll be surprised that you'll find children in your class that know. And when you see children that know, I know there's a particular teacher on this call, I've seen him. He told me that everything I know about computer and how to navigate interactive screens and how to do this, the children in my class taught me. I know it because he's from my school, and when I go into his class, his teacher are navigating, and they're always there saying, teacher, no, let's show you. And he's not ashamed, because at the end of the day, guess what? When we talk about lifelong learning, he's learning, but today he can do it. So teachers, don't, for the love of God and for the love of your children, just embrace technology and let your teacher, your pupils, your students lead you. Students, on the other hand, fear failure from the unfamiliarity of technology. And this is not healthy. But nervousness to come into an exam is unhealthy. And the existential dread, a lot of children are scared. How are you going to do this exam? But let's go back to the paper test. When we're doing the paper test, we did a lot of mock. We did a lot of practice. I remember in my time shading. You practice how to shade. And the message I have for you is practice in everything makes perfect. Let me refer to, I don't know if, a couple of years ago, there was a teacher out of Kenya who became the best teacher for that year. I think it was 2019 or 2021. And he had been teaching computer to children in schools that did not have computer. You can Google him. I don't know his name. It just occurred to me now. And what he did was that he created on a cardboard the interface of a computer, and he would take it to the children, and he taught them from this interface how to type, how to log in, how to do this. And so when the children finally got their hands on a computer, all they did was remember what they had been taught. It was practical. They hadn't seen the results. And the excitement of the little things that they knew caused them to embrace technology so much so that by the time Kenya said, we are going to transition, the children were ready. They were ready. So this whole CBT transition, we as the educators, we have an important role to play. It starts with educating ourselves. We cannot run away from educating ourselves. Now, let me describe some common scenarios that we have documented in the low-income schools, you know. Can you imagine a child doing an exam and the screen freezes? How do you explain to a child that the screen will freeze? Except, of course, the child has experienced it before. So when a screen freeze happens during the exam, the real exam, what is going? I will use Yoruba here. The children say, yeah, Modano, something is wrong by computer. No, they are not more Daron, but there is a problem. They had not experienced it. Practicals allow us to trigger these things for them and create experiences that we can simulate. And when we simulate these experiences, we can even ask AI, if anybody here is AI, to simulate it, screen freeze. And they see it. So even if they are not touching the keys, seeing it can help them. So you can see some of the scenarios, time panic. But at the end of the day, what happens? You know, they tend to give up. I can't do it. Maybe I'll try again next year. You as the teacher need to tell them going to the exam. If your screen freezes, don't worry. Perhaps you just put your hand up. My screen is frozen. Somebody there will be able to come and assist you. You know, scenario 2, time. When they hear, oh, X minutes more, they begin to panic. Teach them, just as we used to do in paper-based tests. We will tell them, if you don't know an answer, mark it and move on. You teach them exactly that same approach, that don't stick on one. Move, keep moving. Do all that you know first. And even if it's a test that says you can't go to the next section before you finish this section, finish that section. Then when you go back and check the ones you didn't do, if you don't know them, then trust God. You tell God to help you pick the answer. Pick the answer and move on. Because if you are overthinking it, you are allowing your time to waste. So we now have to devise a different way of getting them to. So let's go to the next slide. Don't rush. This anxiety for the teacher. I think we've covered this. Fear of failure for the students. Solutions. Exposure through low-stake practice. Yeah. How do we encounter CBT in pressure-free environments? So I know that during COVID, there were things like Duolingo that they used. There were many of these tools, apps that people were using to use for quizzes. Even if it's that you allow them access to. So they know that, okay, click it. I don't know it, move it. It is one step above not doing anything at all. So allow them to, and the children, particularly the mid-level children, they all have access to computers, even if it's the Android phone, their parents' own. what they should do is spend time on these phones. Don't wait to learn everything in school. Let's your mommy give you access and just test and Google all the tests. You know, there are so many free tests on the internet. Allow them to know this and to practice it in their own time without pressure. You in the school also create scenarios for them to practice without pressure. Peer-based ICT mentoring. So, like I said, use your children to help you understand technology, but you can use digitally fluent students to help classmates too. It works and it creates a collaborative environment. And you can all joke about it. We're all learning from each other. Ade is the one that is teaching us today, but is Obi tomorrow, but is Adamu the next day. You understand? You use them. And what does it do? It allows the children to ask questions that they otherwise won't ask you because they're too shy. They don't want you to laugh at them. Now, stress management is also very important. So, sorry, 1 minute, please. My notes. Aha. I get a freeze here. What's happening? Okay, I'll just go. I'll follow the slide.
You're also experiencing it.
So you see, I now have to pivot into another plan while I wait and see whether my screen will unfreeze. It's still frozen. Okay, so next slide, please, Emmanuel. So curriculum misalignment is another thing that we should talk about. You know that the curriculum that we are working with now was designed for a paper-based test. It was testing knowledge. But the new test that we're going to is testing application of knowledge, not knowledge in itself. So we have a challenge. So where you are used to setting a test and, you know, it's either objective, A, B, C, they are just regurgitating because they have memorized. You now have to learn how to set tests that, even if they're paper-based, that forces them to think critically, because a computer-based test is a critical test. It's testing the ability of the child to apply knowledge in scenarios. Okay, so we want to expose students to, in the curriculum, we use the prescribed topic, we follow a lesson plan, we memorize, and at the end of it, we take a test. But in CBT is application of knowledge plus mastery of technology. So speed, answer quickly without sacrificing accuracy. There are skills that they can learn for that. Binary right, wrong, with smaller margins forever. Decision making, when to answer, flag something you don't know, skip question, technical skills we've talked about, scrolling, drop menus, all that, and digital reading. I can't see that, but you can see it. You understand. Next slide. So CBT specific skill gap. What students need to learn what students need to learn right now, time management. Time management is very important because many of these CBT tests, when the time is up, especially for a section, it will time out and they don't have access to it anymore. And that again can make them nervous. Then the navigation skills, just generally how to move, because sometimes they might say import something, do something, you know, it's all, a lot is technical. The technical competence, the critical truth. Mastery is not knowing the answer. Mastery is getting to the answer on time and submitting it correctly. So I know it, and not submitting it or not getting there in time is a problem, is the problem for our children. So let's move on. Data-driven intervention. So the power of CBT and what it captures is it captures data. Which questions are answered correctly, incorrectly, how much time is our children spending on each question, question skipped, patterns in responses. And these are very important for the country, because it is when we begin to capture this data, we begin to understand where are the gaps for the children in learning. And even in your school environment, if you adopt CBT, you can assess your data and actually look at it, have a deep dive. This is where we're weak. This is where we need to do something critically. And sometimes, you have the children to go back to. I saw the results. I see that there's a challenge here. How can I help you better? One of the things about 21st century learning is that we need to be really humble educators. We should not be afraid to admit that, oh, perhaps we got something wrong or we didn't do it quite right. And asking, how can I help you better? Perhaps it's the teaching style. Okay, we have learned that we need to differentiate. We have learned that children have different learning styles. But the application of this in our classroom today, is it really there? So you now need to talk to your children in your class and ask, how can I help you better? Because you can do continuous online mini tests, 10, 20 minutes. You can have conversations designed for ongoing feedback and standard practice in your class, in your school. SS1, no, JS1 to JS3, you can check what are the trends. Those are the beautifuls. What are the trends with the children? Is it they are okay in their foundation, then they're okay in JS2, but by the time they get to JS3, something happened. Something happened was that they had to face an exam that was technology-based. And because of that, anxiety came in, mental health came in. And so at this time, JS3 is not the time to keep on dumping knowledge on them. What you need to do is dump on them technological support. Tell me what your challenge is. Let us go over it again. Because anything you teach them that they know and they don't put in that CBT, at the end of the day, it comes back as you didn't teach it. You didn't do a good job, right? Because data doesn't lie. So 3 critical identification areas. Individual learning gaps, it shows you for each child. Digital fluency, it will show you. Then stress triggering patterns. Does performance deteriorate under time pressure? Do they panic with unfamiliar question formats? Emotional versus cognitive barriers. So I'm upset. I'm not moving emotionally. Is that going to block the cognitive that they know? So personalized remedial tutoring is something that all of us can think about. How to teach them time management, and then digital portfolios showing improvement trajectories for each child. So as you look at their work, you can show them, but you're getting better. You're getting better because your results are getting better. The same way we do mocks in school. Congrats, you're getting better. You've moved from 60% average to 70% average or 68% average. You begin to show them progress. And when they see progress, they don't panic. Next slide. Best practice for data. This is just advice. Weekly CBTs, early interventions, transformation. So don't use a one-size-fits-all model when you are even setting your CBT test. Remember to differentiate. If you're an inclusive school, remember to do exams that match up. Now, one of the beautiful things about data at the end of the day is that when you look at countries like Finland, they have come into adaptive learning. So even if you set an exam and a child is answering the questions and they realize this child is at this level, this exam is too high, the computer will adjust the questions to the level that the child is presenting, and they can continue. So at the end of the day, there's always paper 1, paper 2, paper 3. So when you get your results, you can be at a paper 3, 90%, You can be at a paper 2, 90%. You can be at a paper 1, 85%. But guess what? Your results are stronger because everybody knows that the others have been differentiated. But at the end of it, nobody wants the children to get an F, an E, a D. So that's adaptive. And that is the future that the world is using now to encourage children. But for us here, we have to understand, don't tell them they did wrong. Don't put F on anything again. That is demoralizing. You have to be positive through this transition to help them understand that where they are today is just the beginning of the journey. And with every journey, there's a destination and they will get there. Next slide, please. Stimulating exam environments. I think I've talked about theory versus practice, time pressure, log in, log out. These are all things that you need to practice with the children. And even if you can't practice it, put it on the screen and demonstrate it and have them come and press the buttons on your screen, right? Every little thing matters. No matter what, if I have 20 children and they come one by one, they click it for 5 minutes, and that is a lesson. And please don't wait for the ICT department to do this for you. It's not when they go for ICT. You, as with CBT around the corner, you're an ICT teacher. You learn it first and you give it to your children. Because if you don't do it and they go into the results, guess what? Your school is going to ask you what happened. It's not going to be technology failed us, is what happened. So it looks like more pressure, but in this day where we talk about play learning, there are a lot of ways to play. And at the end of it, I've seen 1 or 2 of my teachers on this. I'm going to ask them to actually give some short testimonials. Let's move through this thing very quickly. I hope I'm doing well for time. Tell me.
Yes, you are.
Okay. So
yes, you are. Thank you.
Full CBT simulation requirements. Every student must experience the CBT environment in a low stakes setting before facing the high stake reality. I'm sure that is clear. Doesn't matter what school you are in. Even if you are in Jelle Simbi school, you need to find a way. I said boya. Maybe you need to go and talk to a school nearby that you know is doing better and ask them, please, can you support us in this CBT thing? Don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to ask. Because knock and it shall be opened is what God said. Ask. So is it handling distractions? Real exam centers have noise, power flickering, technical generator. It's not a silent environment when they go for this CBT exam, you know, perfectly controlled. It's not that. So practice making focus despite the disruptions of people saying, teacher, help me. My phone is, my screen is frozen. You have to teach them to shut out the noise. Shut out the noise and understand that so long as your system is working, focus on your work. Don't look at what is happening to the next person. Don't care about anything. You are there, you and the screen and God. Focus on your work. Results of stimulation reduces anxiety, it builds competence, and it levels the playing field. We really need to level the playing field. Okay? Solutions for resource limited schools. We don't have resources, and government is not telling us that they're going to give resources. They're just telling us that there's the transition taking place. How do we manage that? If a school has only 5 computers, create a rotation system. Better for everyone to have limited exposure than for a few to have extensive exposure. Now, when each child, I'll add to that, when each child gets exposure, how they feel, let them share it with everybody else. So let them talk through. So in the talk, were you scared? At first I was, but when I pressed it, it actually worked. And then I did this and it worked. You know, That is encouragement for the next child. Oh, he did it. And so he said he pressed it and it worked. My own too will work. So you can build their confidence with this cluster-based thing. Then you can also tell them that, you know, these smartphones, their mothers carry, you carry. Show them that is a computer. Show them that if they know anybody that has this and that can give them time, they can work on the computer. Let them have links that they can use on their own to practice. You know, don't limit your teaching them to the time you are in school. What is calling for is for teachers to be, you know how during COVID, we all had to be agile. We all had, when we pivoted, we all had to find different ways. Some people use WhatsApp, some people use Telegram, some people use not Duolingo. Teachers, please, that thing that we used in Standard Bearer School, I keep on calling Duolingo. Duolingo is a French word that we used. Please, somebody will talk about that, you know? Then let them understand smartphones. Then partner with local hubs. You know, I said partner with schools. Hubs there too. If you go to them and say, please, can you give us 1 hour, 3 times a week? Let's bring our final year students in. And so they can practice in the hub. Favor is possible now. And they say, yes, come, bring them. I now take them in groups. They go to, and then the people there can actually help them to understand this thing. Because at the end of the day, nobody wants children to fail. Of course, we have the energy problem. Even if it is to get solar panels for your ICT room, there must be solar panels in your school. You cannot do CBT with electricity. NEPA or Eco Disco or whatever it is you call them where you live will fail. So you can never use the source of power that comes through government to work this. It's not going to happen. Next slide. So iAfrica Cloud School Foundation is what has given me the access to allow to understand this whole CBT thing. Fortunately, they have bracketed us as we are elite high-level school. Falls disproportionately on low-income schools. These schools lack resources to respond effectively, and we need to bridge the gap, and that's what we're doing at iAfrica. We're trying very hard to support in bridging the gap. I will talk about our initiatives, but you can learn all about that. So we work in these schools, we teach literacy, and recently when the announcement was made about schools, I think we were in Ajegunle, if I remember correctly, and my curriculum development person just said, you know what, Ajegunle, I want you to gather 200 school owners from Ajegunle and as many teachers as you can. And we're coming to give you a free training on how you can simulate CBT in your schools. And they were so excited. Said, I don't want to know of the venue. You make it. What I'm offering you is we come and we train you with the technology and we show you how. Now, CBT readiness, you know, is a technical, emotional, psychological thing, and they don't even have counselors to support the children. So they really need strategic partnerships, and we're happy to be partnering with some of the schools in Lagos. And if God permits it, we have access, we will go anywhere to support. So our impact and results, I think if you can check our email, we have done a lot of amazing things. We have supported maybe about 7,000 children and over 1,000 teachers to date in 21st century teaching. And we are looking to all this CBT stuff. So these are the CBT success requirements. So the 5 pillars that you're going to need to have. You need the infrastructure, you need teacher capabilities, you need student readiness, consistent simulations, and policy performance alignments. Right now, the policies are a bit fluid because I understand that WAEC has announced that they are still going to go on with CBT in 2026. And my counsel here would be that don't worry about the dates. Just think that your journey started today and just start building your students' readiness for whatever day in the future where CBT actually becomes a reality. And if you're a primary school teacher, just know that CBT is coming to you too. This is just phase one. And like I told you globally, CBT is being used around the world. It's probably like 15 years back. So we are late. And so we need to leapfrog now. And God will give us the grace to leapfrog to a place that is closer to where the world is going because of the skills that our children need to learn. And CBT can give them access to, which is the future-ready skills in technology. So the call to action, let's all agree that the gap between policy and performance is really wide, and that being on this call, we are all here to learn and to go and to share with others, but most importantly, to put it into practice. We need to close the gap, and it requires deliberate, collaborative, and urgent action. And so this is an invitation that all of us, stakeholders, government representatives, educators, private sectors, and NGOs, we all must put our hands on the plow. I know you say when you put your hand on the plow, you must not look back. We must put our hand on the plow and start the journey of CBT, because when we do that, we are moving Nigeria as well as Africa into a new dimension of education. And our children need it, because whether we like it or not, they are Gen Z children and Gen Alphas. They don't think like us. They are wired for this tech age, and everything that we don't do to support them in their education is slowing down their future. Today, globally, there are 17-year-olds coming out of high school, setting up their companies and moving. We need to understand that it is our responsibility to actually support these children and get them to where they're going. So let us all answer this call. Let us all take on the responsibility, and by the grace of God, we will move Nigerian youth population into a better place, and will build the Nigeria of our dreams. So once again, I want to thank Antonia for inviting me to make this presentation today. I really hope that I have communicated, and I would love to hear any questions and the comments. Please keep them coming. If you have questions, maybe you read out the questions, Antonia.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ma'am. So we have moved to the Q&A session now. If you have your questions or you have a contribution, kindly use the icon, the raise your hand icon, and then I will call you so that you can share your thoughts, or you have a question for our guest. While that is on, I would like to acknowledge the presence of someone I respect and I hold so dear. He is on this call. From the very first time we sent out the flyer, he reached out and said, he made a comment and said he's going to be on this call, that he wants to be on this call. And I ensured that it happened. Tonight, this evening, I have on this call my teacher from secondary school. He was our chemistry teacher, and he's on this call. You can imagine how we support one another. It doesn't matter that, oh, he was a teacher, he taught me way back then, but he said, I will support you on this dream. And he has even put a comment on the session. So, sir, Mr. Adolph, I don't know if you have a word or two for us in this conversation, because I saw your comment on the chat box. Yes, he was my teacher way back in Federal Government Girls College, Yola, as far back as 1982, 1983. He's on this call. So, Mr. Adolph, sir, I don't know if you have a word for us, a contribution. Let me see. He's still here.
I'm here.
Mr. Adolph.
Yes, please.
All
Can you hear
right.
me?
Yes,
Can
we
you
can
hear
hear
me?
you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
sir,
you
we can hear
very
you.
much for the recognition and opportunity to say a few words. First of all, I was a bit distracted because I'm supposed to be in a program in the church now. But because I promised I'll be part of this program, I took time out in between the Global Crusade to attend to your webinar. Yes, I want to
Thank you,
say
sir.
I appreciate our guest speaker. She spoke very well, extensively, but I was a bit distracted. I didn't get all the points. I will find time to go through the slides again. Yes, the world is going CBT, the world is going internet, all that stuff. But we are not ready in Nigeria as of today. I would advise caution as we go that way. So as of now, like I observed, as at 2001, when I was privileged to get to Kenya, I discovered that even shoemakers have handsets and they have 24/7 supply of electricity. We are far from that here in Nigeria. When you think of all the exams going on now for selection of people into, say, customs, the rest of them, less than 1 million candidates. In fact, not even up to 200,000 candidates. A lot of issues, coming along with the conduct of such exams. Then you're thinking of NECO, where I came out from, 1 million plus. Then these senior school certificate exams, you want to assess the practicals, you want to assess the theory, and then of course the multiple choice type of administration. How do we go about it with CBT when the students have not been exposed, to the use of CBT? So I have my fears. We still need to do a lot of infrastructural development all over the states of the Federation before we can go full hog. Otherwise, it's a noble idea, it's worth pursuing, where there is the will to put down all these infrastructural facilities. Thank you very much once again. I just had to pack to be able to make this contribution. I pray I get hold of the slides, and then maybe I'll make more input. Thank you
Yes,
once
sir.
again, guest speaker. Yeah. Thank you,
Thank you
Antonia.
very much, sir.
God bless you.
Thank you.
And you too,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate your contribution. And our guest speaker, he also still reiterated the impact of the CBT, that we are not fully ready. How do you assess students' practicals? How do you assess all of the subjects? I know you have shared some insights in that regard, but I also want to state that in CBT, it's not going to be the physical practical. There is this section that is termed alternative to practical. So I believe that that is the way that the CBT for practical exams will run.
Yeah.
But then again, let's see how that will go. So if you want to add, I don't know if you have more thoughts or ideas or insights or inputs in that regarding his contribution.
Okay. Are you talking to me or to the audience?
Yes, I'm talking to you, ma'am.
Well, he's absolutely right when he says we're not ready. And we will never be ready. It's time for us to be ready. I don't think leadership is going to wake up and do what they need to do. But the world is moving on. And if we continue to say we're not ready, when they talk about sub-Saharan Africa, they say that we're 100 years behind the rest of the world and that we can never catch up. But if we continue to say we're not ready, 100 years behind, we become 120 years, become 150 years. But we are here today. I see it as an opportunity, because when you talk about lifelong learning, if every teacher commits to learn it and then to make it their responsibility to also help their students and other teachers learn it, just as we talk about peer-to-peer teaching for the children, we can actually have peer-to-peer cohorts for adults teaching. I remember us trying to pivot from what was into the digital space during COVID. I know that my teachers spent inordinate number of hours using their phones, but on late into the night, just trying. Some of them will say, let's do it at night because data is cheaper. But they were learning. There was someone who was training them how to use Microsoft Teams, how to do this, how to do that. And so by the time we opened up and started, these same teachers were able to teach the students online how to use the platform from a distance. So because I've had that experience, I know it is possible, but it is the will that we all have to do what it will take to get Nigeria out of this state, because there are over 100 and something million jobs coming to Africa, but a lot of these jobs are technology based. We see the world working remotely. Our own children too can work remotely, but we have to prepare them to work remotely. It's not going to happen. A good example I had a teacher in my school, one of them who was a teacher, but somehow she discovered machine learning and she started it and she found out she was good at it. And she trained herself online. What am I saying? If you have access to the internet, there's nothing you cannot learn as a teacher. So learn it first and then cascade that down to your children. I think that's the way we will escape.
Thank you very much once again. Please, if you know that you have been greatly impacted by this session, please let's see you put it in the chat box. Great impact, great impact. And let's appreciate our guest speaker. Let's use the icon and appreciate our guest speaker. Any other contribution or questions? We really appreciate Mrs. Oni for doing justice to this conversation tonight. What are your takeaways? I have shared a link on the chat box. Please use that link and fill in the feedback. We want to hear from you. We want to know how well we have delivered this session. Kindly use the chat box. You will see the link. The link is there on the chat box. And if you have questions, learning never stops. We keep saying this over and over. It's becoming like a broken record. Learning never stops. So we keep learning. We keep learning. So share your thoughts. What are your thoughts? Or if you have any takeaway that impacted you, can you just please maybe use the icon or use the chat box and tell us what you have gained. We are educators. There is no right or wrong answer. Please share your thoughts. We are all here to learn. This call will be ending. We'll be going off this call in another 10 minutes. Thank you very much, Mrs. Oni. You have really, I have my book here. I took down a lot. I don't know if others did same. There's been a lot to take away from this session. So the platform you have joined is Antorial Academy. we are a learning hub, but I just want to leave us with this by John Maxwell. The highest reward you have for growth is not what you get from it, but what you become by it. When you prioritize growth, you're not just acquiring knowledge or skills, you are transforming into the best version of yourself. By joining us on this call tonight, I want to believe that you have been greatly impacted, because this is a period where we are all transitioning from, okay, someone raised his hand, Banji Jegede. I think Mr.
Okay,
Adolf has said something. Okay, so
thank you
Banji
so
Jegede.
much. Thank you so much.
Yes, please. You're welcome.
I want to say a very big thank you to my mentor of almost 20 years now, because I've been with Mrs. Oni Staraberas for almost 20 years. And I also
Wow.
have my own school managed by my wife in
Wow.
an area we can also refer to as low income school. But one thing we decided, when Mama was saying, she said, it's all about the willpower. Once we see impossibility, once we say it's not possible, then it won't be possible. Permit me to use the example of when, for the Christians, when Moses sent the spies to look at the Canaan land, they came back with a report that, oh, we can't do it. It's not possible. It's not doable. And that journey actually took them 40 years because they believe it's not doable. But when Joshua became a leader, that journey of 40 years actually took them only 40 days to actually get to the Canaan land, because they see that it's possible. Like one thing we do in my school is we might not go into CBT in the whole entirety, but you can start from the objective questions. While you still have your theory on paper, you can start the objective, and during exams, all the available computers in the school, all the teachers' phones are used to just ensure that we have that done. And you see some children are also bringing in their own systems. And when parents say that, oh, this is what this school has decided to do, you see them also submitting their phones, because you can do CBT objective on the phone. So what I'm saying this evening is, let's say it's not possible. It is very possible, because we've been doing CBT for almost 5 years. Despite the fact that we don't have like 100 computers in the school, but where there is a will, there's a way. I just want to say thank you for what Mrs. Oni is doing. Thank you for greatly imparting me, imparting us, imparting Africa. And, everywhere she goes, I go. Everything she does, I do. Thank you so much, Mama. Thank you.
God bless you, Mr. Jegede. God bless you.
That is the power of mentorship. That's the power of mentorship. Now, before we close, my first attempt at CBT was during my master's program. And that was in 2020. No, that was in 2019. I didn't even have a laptop. I didn't even have a laptop. I'm talking about the will and the way. I didn't have a laptop. And we had to undergo CBT testing during one of the courses. For me, it was very interesting. I have always seen computers, so I didn't have that culture shock. But although there was anxiety, and sometimes as an educator, you just have this initiative and you're self-taught and self-driven, and you just know what to do at that time. I know that I didn't have to spend so much time on a particular question. I knew that I didn't have to overthink a particular question, because I knew that CBT is time bound. So, and that was my first time, and I think I did well. I actually did well. So immediately you submit, you just see your scores, and I was impressed at my performance for the very, very first time. And there has not been a going back for me. I mean, I've not looked back since that time. So CBT is worth embracing. Let's embrace it. Let's ensure that we encourage our teachers. Let's encourage our school community to embrace this initiative. And for the WAEC and NECO that is making the news, they came up with an information yesterday that They're going ahead in 2026, but the government needs to understand how it will run. I don't know how many of us saw that publication or that write-up yesterday. What they're doing is they have categorized schools in 3 tiers. There are some schools that can actually go CBT full-blown. There are some schools that they have categorized that they will only be able to take CBT objectives and then still do the paper. And then for schools that are not ready, that do not have the infrastructure to go into CBT at all, at any level, they will still have the paper and pen. That is WAEC's plan for now, until gradually everybody will now transit into the full-blown CBT. So let's not worry, let's not be scared, but I want to encourage every one of us on this call, take the word, take it out there, and begin to prepare your students for CBT. 2030, 2026, whenever the time is, that time you're going to start. But don't wait until 2030. Let's start now. The next best time to start in preparing and organizing our students is now. But one thing that has been on my mind is this: the curriculum, because she talked about the curriculum alignment. The curriculum has been prepared for paper and pen, or paper and pencil, or as the case may be. But today we're talking CBT. You have to understand how you're going to start setting your questions that will capture the whole essence of the curriculum that you're delivering in your classroom. And all of that has been captured on this call. I want to say a big thank you to Mrs. Modupe Oni for your time, and for everyone who has stayed through to the end. I say a big thank you to you. So we are Antorial Academy. We are an online secondary school, and we are a learning hub. And this is what we do. We are preparing and nurturing students to be globally minded, to be technology driven in all exams that they're preparing for. So from JS1 up to JS3, and from JS3 to SS3, whatever level of learning you find yourself, that is who we are. And we also prepare students for the international exam. So it's not just about the local exams, also about the international exam. So this is who we are. You can visit us on our page, on our Instagram handle, Antorial Academy. You can also visit our website, antorialacademy.com.ng. We are on Facebook. You can reach us, share your questions, send us an email. Just stay connected, and we will continue to bring learning of educators, or teaching and training of educators. So we are not just an online secondary school. We have for children, and then we also have this aspect where you are now, educating and training and professional development for educators, business professionals. This is who we are. We are a learning hub. So stay connected with us. Please use the link and fill up the feedback form. We will really want to hear from you, and stay connected. Thank you all very much for staying true. Thank you very much. I'm sure that when we advertise and we put ourselves out there once again for our sessions like this, you will join us in learning. Learning never stops. We keep learning, and we keep developing ourselves. Thank you all very much. Thank you for joining. I want to say good night to you. Have a restful evening. Thank you.